Hey guys, this is Harry from Zero Effect, and in this video, I will break down my process of recreating this. I first imported my reference footage. Now to match the font, I usually go to a font website and search for a font. But this time it offered me some extremely accurate results,
How are these two the same? Seriously? What are all these?
so I decided to just Google it. And finally found a font, and realized that it's the same font like in the second movie. Anyway, so after installing the font, I went back to After Effects and created the text using that font as separate layers. I then pre-composed them all together as text. We have a 2D text. To make it 3D, I imported a mountains image and got rid of the sky. This is to have more contrast within the frame. Added a CC glass effect. Now we need a bump map. To do that, I copied all the text layers and pre-comped them as a bevel map. Now for the bump, I used this bevel map, added a set matte effect, and used the text as the matte layer. We have some fake 3D text. For the 3D bump, I added some blur to all the text layers within the bevel map. To make the bump look smooth, I added a curves effect and did some fine adjustments. And finally got the round looking letters like in the original. I then tiled the mountains image using a motion tile effect to make the text look more reflective. Added a fast blur to make it look metallic. I then animated the motion tile center to animate the reflections. Typical Hollywood intro. I then desaturated the text and added more contrast to it. I also added a parallel light coming from the top and made the CC glass accept AE lights. Hey, I got some nice lighting. I also added an ambient light to brighten the text. I added another parallel light, linked it to a null this time, and rotated the null using a time expression. This creates some nice rotating light. Typical Hollywood right there. Inside the text map for the wand shape, I created a shape layer and added some turbulent displacement to it. This makes it look more or less like a wand. I used this wand shape as an alpha inverted matte. This cuts off the text. Inside the bevel map, I blurred the wand shape a bit. This added some nice bevel. To add more texture, inside the bevel map, I created a cell pattern and used a fractal noise map as a luma mat to distribute the pattern. Change the blending mode to darken and decrease the opacity all the way down. This added some nice texture to the text. Now to create this magic reveal look, I pre-composed all the layers together as a single layer. I added a white solid and animated a linear wipe effect on top of it. I then added some turbulent displacement and used this guy as an alpha matte for the text. Well, this reveals the text. Now to add a 3D extrusion, I pre-comped them together, duplicated it, and to the bottom copy added a CC radial blur effect, gave it some negative fading zoom, and increased the alpha all the way up. Thank you, Andrew Kramer. I darkened it a bit to make it look more convincing. Now to get this hot red edge, I took the white solid with the linear wipe effect and pasted that in the main comp, and used that as an alpha inverted map this time. Now by offsetting the keyframes by one single frame, I isolated the edge. I then added some glow and color to it and ended up with this. Okay, that finishes the text. Now I need to create the particle simulations. Now obviously these were done in Houdini, Krakatoa, some kind of very cheap software. I don't use cheap software. I use the costly inbuilt particle system. So I first duplicated this layer and deleted all the effects to make sure the alpha is preserved and added a CC particle wall effect. I immediately realized that there is no option to emit from a layer. Okay, it's just one effect. Deleted it. I then added the particle playground and found the layer explorer option. Yay, my face exploded. I immediately selected the base edge layer and bam! What? Maybe there was a bug. I tried it again. Okay, maybe the particles are too many. Let's decrease the particles. Just give me some time, man. Okay, there is no particle count option here. Okay, that will do. Maybe I will decrease lifespan. Layer map. Gravity, ripple, where is lifespan? What the? Persistent property mapper. What the fuck are all this? Oh god. I think Particle Playground is too futuristic for 2022. But it's useful for one thing though. It almost fried my laptop. So yeah, if you want to fry your laptop, you can try that. That's in there, right there. I finally added CC particle systems too and found something useful. Source alpha inheritance. Enabled it and yeah, that did the trick. So this emitted the particles based on the alpha map. So I increased the X radius to cover the entire text, animated the particle system from top to bottom so that it stays along with the edge, increased the particle count, and yeah, that's what I got. But I noticed a problem. The particles are abruptly cutting off for some reason. I even increased the lifespan, but that didn't help. I then understood that for the particles to become visible, their origin point has to stay visible. And because our alpha map is changing, the origin point is getting deleted, and so did the particles. So I decided to create two particle systems to cover this up. So the first one is the same one but with decreased lifespan and changed the color to white and added some color. And this is the first particle system. And to create the second particle system, I duplicated the base text alpha layer, this one right here, and copied the particle system from the edge layer and pasted it in this layer. I then adjusted the particle system position so that it covers only the edges. And when I am done, I ended up with something like this. I then increased the lifespan, decreased the gravity, changed the particles to a faded sphere, and decreased the opacity. And it looks kind of like a smoke simulation. I then added a vector blur effect, and if I increase the amount, this makes it look kind of like an energy or a fluid flow. Also decrease the softness, and this is what I ended up with. I then added a glow effect and some color. Nice. Now to cover this section here, I created another particle system and filled up that section. There you go. Now to create the phoenix. I used the CC particle world effect and created a simple simulation that looks something like this. Change the particle type to faded sphere, increase the size, and change the color to white. Decrease the opacity and also increase the particle amount. I also animated the birth rate to stop the particle emission after a few frames. I also animated the velocity for reasons unknown. It just looked better, that's it. I then added a mesh swap effect to make it look more like a wing. Now I positioned it and added a CC vector blur one more time, but this time higher amount, and everything else set back to 0. This creates a nice fluid energy look. Added a VC color vibrance effect and gave it some orange color, decreased the vibrance. That looked pretty good. I then added a chromatic aberration effect because why not? It just looked better. I then duplicated it, flipped it horizontally, and positioned it to the left. Set the transfer mode to screen and to make two wings. I created another simple particle system and positioned it right here. Duplicated it and positioned it right here. There you go, that finishes the wing. I then created a simple shape that looks kind of like a wing bone. Pre-composed it, added a CC particle systems effect to it, and animated the particle system from left to right. Now, if I enable source alpha inheritance, the particles slowly reveal the wing shape. I then modified the physics to make it look more like a wing, decreased the lifespan, and changed the particles type and changed the particle color, and positioned it right there on top of the wing. And if I add the vector blur and VC color vibrance effects to it, it looks like this. I then duplicated it and positioned it to the left to cover the entire structure. For the phoenix tail, I created this simple shape, created a simple particle system that goes down like this, enabled source alpha inheritance, and yes, I got something like this. But then using vector blur and some color, this is how it looks. Nice. I also created a simple phoenix head shape, added a particle system going up, and enabled source alpha inheritance, and with some vector blur and color, that looked pretty good. And finally, this finishes the phoenix. Yay! I then imported the sky background, did some color adjustments to match the text, and finally animated the scale of the entire comp, and that's basically it. This fantastic beast text in the wand was also created the same way as this. So this is looking exactly like the original. You don't believe me? There you go, for comparison. This is the wrong video. There you go. It's the same. Yay! So with this, I'm done.